What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we are back with what is another episode of Lions Latest, going through the latest Detroit Lions news. And today, we are here with the final injury report of the week for the Lions and for the Dolphins, as well as a few notes from Dan Campbell. Sheila also spoke on Dan Campbell and this current regime, as well as a little bit of a look at this defensive film against the Dallas Cowboys. I'm excited for this. We're not going to take a look at every play, but some of the good, some of the bad, and some players that I thought stuck out in that game, and the schematic changes that we're seeing a little bit for the Lions. So let's get it started.
Fired up. It's made a great decision.
Great teammates, coaches, and other people who want to be Super Bowl champions. And we are. We're going to do it this year.
And we're going places because we want to go places.
Touchdown, Detroit Lions!
Before long, we're going to be the last one standing.
Welcome everybody to another video. Glad you guys are here. We're back, man. I'm excited. Friday's always exciting. Final injury report. That's great. You know, I finally get done typing that thing up. Okay, so we used to do like every single day we took a look at that injury report. Scheduling wise, it's kind of hard to do that now, but I do type in every single day, you know, they participate. All right, that is annoying as heck, especially when I look and I'm like, oh, I realized I spelled that guy's name wrong, or I put the wrong designation, but I didn't realize it when I actually uploaded the video. So that's a little frustrating, but y'all know I have a little bit of a different format this time around for that. We'll kind of fly through the injury report today, then get into the defensive stuff because that's going to take a little bit longer. But before we do that, I do got a little shout out because it was in the background of the last video. It was in the stream. It'll continue to be in streams. I'm not going to do like, you know, plugs every single video or something like that. I don't know. Maybe I'll come up with a funny skit. We had a good one. Hold up, my boy. Before you go sharing what that is, you ever heard of one of these? It's called a razor, you know. Maybe you could just, you know, use it before you shoot your show. You know, it looks like you got a whole shadow underneath your chin. Okay, it's not even a beard. It's just dark. I don't know what that is. I don't know. I mean, I get it. You may not know what this is. It's called a razor. Okay, I get it. You haven't shaved that thing in like 2 years. It still looks like you're 14 years old. I get it. But maybe you should get a promo code for one of these. I'll tell you, SHAVEs. That's your promo code. There you go. I'm sorry. You guys have to look at this. I have to sit back editing this and just like, what was I thinking? I left that there. Really, that looks awful. I'm sorry. I'll just ignore it. Now I probably pointed it out. So if you weren't paying attention, now you're seeing it. I'm sorry. I had to do it. Just Liquid IV. I just thought I'd show it off real quick. Okay, because it's kind of cool. I don't know if have I had something where I actually have like a discount link thing. I don't know what that means. Okay, basically, y'all know what it is. It's like the code. I got a code. I got a code for this one. The code is DoseOfDion. That's pretty sweet. Not the 2.0, just DoseOfDion, all capital, no spaces. I love that. There's no spaces. I don't know if all codes are like that. I don't think they are. I think that, shout out to them. I appreciate that. But I'm showing this one off. You can see I already opened it because, you know, hey, this is my favorite flavor. This tangerine. I won't spend too much time here, but they got a whole bunch of different things. It's basically if you like to pour like you know how you pour the powder into your drink, stir it up. Okay, hey, now it tastes like cherry. But then if it spilled on your finger, it might stain. No. This isn't that. Basically what this is it has some extra, little bit more to it than just flavor, basically. They all have like different things that they do. Hydration multiplier. I have not opened this one yet. Lemon, lime. They have different flavors. Berry. Energy. They have one that helps you sleep. They got immune support. So it's just like it gives you a little bit more than just the flavor. And that's what I like about it. Okay. And I always drink this stuff. I drink all the waters. Look, I'm going to leave this in there just so you guys can see what I got to deal with. All right. I drink all the waters. What does that mean? I drink all the water. See, usually I cut all this stuff out, or at least most of it, and then it's like, okay, this isn't that weird. You guys don't see this stuff. Nope. I'm going to leave this in there just so you can see. Because, you know, that's what I do. I just drink different types of water. So this stuff is sweet, and you should check it out. The link will be in the description. Liquid IV, DoseOfDion is a code, you get 15% off. So why not? If you're already getting it, then get 50% off. If you're not already getting it, well, maybe you give it a shot. I don't know. If you want to, I mean, go for it. Click that link or just look it up and you'll probably still use the code, but I think the link works better. With that being said, though, let's dive into this. Let's start with the Lions injury report, or the final participation report. We won't really spend much time on the Dolphins. Tomorrow, we'll do like our little preview / maybe live stream of that. Could be a video. We'll see where we talk more about this Dolphins team. But the Dolphins are a little bit like us. They have a massive injury report. I mean, some teams have like 4 players on it. Clearly, the Dolphins have the same memo of like put everybody on your injury report. That's basically what they did. Most of the players on there will play, from how I understand they put their injury report together. But there are a lot of players on here. But we'll focus on this Lions side. You can see the different format we have going on for the Lions here. All their designations by day are in order. So first off, DeShon Elliott did not participate. Boom. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. He is out for this game with a finger injury. This one is probably the most unfortunate, honestly. I'm such a big fan of DeShon Elliott. Becoming a very big fan of this dude. I just like how he plays. I like his consistency. I like the way that he hits. I like his energy, and he's a good football player. But he's out this week, and it sounds like Juju Hughes will probably get to start according to Dan Campbell. He did say that Jerry was even getting some looks there, but he kind of was like, yeah, it's probably going to be Juju Hughes. He said Jerry could pretty much play for us anywhere, which again then probably signifies the fact that the Lions will continue to go with Amani starting on the outside. Was not perfect last week at all. I still think we could have some issues there with all the man that we do play, but that's what it sounds like from Dan Campbell. But no DeShon Elliott this week definitely hurts. Good thing is Kirby Joseph has been playing pretty darn well across him. He's been pretty outstanding. So I would assume Juju Hughes gets the start this week. That's how it sounds like it's going to go. I thought he was fine for us when he had to fill in against Minnesota, and he did play a little bit last week. I think the injury for DeShon Elliott happened there in the fourth quarter. He made a tackle, but he didn't come out of the game until the next series. He didn't come out immediately, so now we know that he's out. So hopefully it's nothing that's too long-term serious, but we'll see. He's out for this one. Charles Harris continues to be on here. He is out for this week with his groin injury. We also have Mike Hughes, not Juju. That would throw off everything I just said. Mike Hughes is out for this game. He has not practiced all week with his knee injury. I guess the good thing there is that AJ started last week, and I'll assume they continue to do that. I mean, AJ is a smart player, and you do see it. You see it on the film, man. This guy communicates really well. Again, I don't necessarily trust his man coverage in the sense that if he has this assignment and it's one-on-one and there's no communication going on here and he's just got to cover this guy, for situations where I don't necessarily love him, but at the same time, it's also like, well, that's difficult for anybody. And we'll take a look at a few of those, I think, when we get to this film. But with that being said, AJ Parker is going to start this week in place. Mike Hughes not available. Chase Lucas also not available. Iffy is not available either. None of those guys have practiced. Iffy, actually, this would have been the week that we maybe could have seen him if there is no DeShon Elliott, but of course, since he's out, Juju Hughes. Matt Nelson, he's also out once again with his calf injury, and this is something to kind of keep an eye on because he's a good sixth offensive lineman for the jumbo packages, but the issue is that in his place, when we've done that, we utilize Dan Skipper. Now, I can't put a number to it, but I do feel like we've done it less this year without Matt Nelson, but I can say that it's very unfortunate because when we do like to do what we saw last week, there can be some really bad situations in which maybe, Matt Nelson could have also missed the block, but Dan Skipper did miss the block, like on the goal line when Jamal fumbled, for example. So it's a tough loss. It is. You don't feel it every single play. It's great to have our guys at tackle, and as you'll see, Taylor Decker, he's in. Just continue to improve throughout the week. He'll play this game, but for sixth offensive lineman stuff, you like to have him. Hockenson has improved all week. Today, full participation. He's good to go. That's awesome. Jonah Jackson, limited for the last 2 days, listed as questionable. They didn't really make a deal out of it, like to make it sound like he wouldn't play. They did speak on Big V, slim to none chance of probably playing again this year. He's doing well. His surgery went well, but it's just a long-term thing that he's dealing with. And then also Tommy Kramer. He said Tommy Kramer we could potentially see back within the next couple of weeks. But then, of course, on top of that, he's also got to get back to practicing, and I don't know how long that timetable would be. That would probably be for filling in at right guard, Evan Brown, who's currently starting there. Hopefully, we don't have to put another backup guard in. Hopefully, Jonah Jackson can get the start this week. Frank Ragnow, he is in for this game. He improved all week as well. Josh Reynolds. Now, Dan Campbell spoke on this one because, of course, we talked about the receiver position. I said yesterday I don't think the Lions will make a trade, and he spoke on the importance of a guy like Josh Reynolds, who's basically actually practicing. He's practicing in practice. It sounds weird, but in the past, he hasn't really been practicing. Except for the last few weeks, he was kind of just doing walkthrough stuff. Now he's actually practicing, going through practice with this Lions offense, and they just feel a comfortability in what they expect of those players, but also the connection between him and Jared in practice. So hopefully that adds a little bit to this offense this week, especially without having DJ Chark. We won't have him again this week. Amon-Ra St. Brown, he's listed as questionable, but from all the way they talk about it, full participation today. He's listed as questionable with the concussion protocol that he was put in last week against Dallas, but it sounds like he'll play. Will Harris, another Harris on here, he is in for this game. That is another guy that in a pinch they could put at safety if they needed to. Again, didn't make any sound of it like he would start at safety, but if they needed to, they could. But of course, they're kind of leaving him at corner. And finally, the big one is probably that DeAndre Swift will play this week. Full participation all week. He's in. And what I really like about this one is, again, I feel like last week, I don't know for sure, but he probably tried to give it a go and he couldn't. And they're like, dude, he needs one more week. But the fact that it's like, okay, he needs one more week and legitimately he just needed one more week. Now here he is, full participation every day, and he's going to play. So I don't know if that means he's at 100%, but he's going to play. And that's awesome for the Lions. And of course, Dan Campbell said about that, they love this dude. Okay, and that's huge. The Lions do need that. They could use that spark. We took a look at a play yesterday where you get in a flat, you get a one-on-one. It's just like, well, it's cool, you know, our guy did what he was supposed to do there. But if you could just make that one guy miss, right, do a little bit more than just what's there. You know, do something beyond than what they're just giving you. Because that's what this offense needs, is some sort of spark, especially in a game like last week with their pass rush and all the things going on in that game. You just need someone to make something above and beyond, and he could have been the guy to do that. Hopefully he's that guy this week. You can see the Dolphins side, it is massive, so we won't spend much time here. Ron Armstead, offensive tackle, seems like he's going to play, even though he did not participate with a toe injury today. He was listed like he was going to play for this game, so I guess he's good to go. See that Tua Tagovailoa is back. He is in this week with his hand injury, so we will see him this week. Left hand, though, keep that in mind because, you know, that's obviously his throwing hand. Morstead, their punter, non-injury related, but he was listed as questionable today, so I don't really understand that one, but we'll see. Hopefully he's okay. Big time corner, Howard, you can see him at the top. He's listed as questionable for this game with a groin injury, so we'll keep an eye on that one as well. But that is the Dolphins side. You can see the rest there. Feel free to read through it. We'll definitely hit on this more tomorrow. Like Raheem Mostert, he's in for this game. They're running back. He's been limited a little bit in practice. I know Dolphins fans want to see, you know, them give a little bit more carries to some of their other backs. With that being said, though, let's take a look at this Lions defensive film. We'll hit this more tomorrow. We'll do a little preview show and things like that on it. But for now, let's take a look at this defense. So let's take a look at some of the defensive things here. Lions definitely changed up some things schematically. They weren't beat. When we came into the bye week, specifically, we started with a run and said, hey, these pulling offensive linemen, they get outside, these power runs, that's where the Lions are having issues. And a couple times in this game, they were beat on some of those types of runs, but they were beat a little bit differently. Now, for the Lions, one of their biggest changes, of course, was making sure they try to funnel everything a little bit inside using their edge players in wider alignment. So we'll take a look at that. Statistically, in this game, the Lions held Dallas to being 3 of 9 on third down, which is pretty good, 33%. Now, it was Dak's first game back, so we got to keep that in mind for sure. Lions also got a guy in Josh Pascal back, which was big time because he basically started across from Hutch, and that was huge. But, of course, Dak's first game back, for example, like his first throw, it should have been easy, but he missed the first throw. But with that, 3 for 9, one of them, as we know, was basically like a coverage breakdown, which I think we'll show in here on a 3rd and 8. They scored 21 of their 24 points, 21 of their 24 points in the second half in this game, which is concerning because you look at that and you're like, okay, that's not good, right? 3 points at half and then 21 in the second half, that's an issue. Again, we've seen that a lot this season where teams score a lot more in the second half on us. But if you do look at those 3 drives, one of them was a chunk run drive that they had, and we'll take a look at a few plays from that drive. Second one was they started at their own 46-yard line, so that's fantastic field position. I think that was the one that came off the interception. Also, that was the 3rd and 8 that we blew the coverage. There was a 3rd and 4 before that where we should have got off the field where they called Alex Anzalone for defensive holding. And then their 3rd scoring drive, they started at our 24-yard line. So, of course, you're in a bad spot when that is the case. Pretty good for the Lions. They forced 1 turnover in this game. Probably should have been 2. When you take a look at Kirby Joseph, was right there for another interception, but he did force the fumble. They averaged 4.3 yards per carry in this game for 139 rushing yards. It's still too many, but that's basically their season average, 4.3 yards per carry for 121 yards. So it's basically what they do on average. But there were some chunks. There was like one specific drive on there, but there weren't as many chunks as we have been giving up, which I would say is good. Now, this wasn't the best rushing team. We've had a lot of chunk plays that we've given up, and there was a few in this one, but I definitely don't think it was as many. So let's take a look at some things specifically here. We'll start with the first drive. We'll start with this sack. The Lions got a 3 and out to start this game, and I just wanted to showcase this one. We won't spend a lot of time, not a ton to really show with this play, but I do want to show it first. Okay, Lions going to cover 1 defense here. They bring the blitz, 6 rushers on this play, 1, 2, 4, 5, 6 rushers on this play. You can see the safety kind of rolls down to that Rob roll, 3 receivers, but it's Aiden Hutchinson who makes the sack on this play. The left tackle got out of his stance very late, which definitely got a step for Aiden Hutchinson, and then he finished off the play, which is fantastic. Let's show this one more time. A.J. Parker in the slot. We did see them have a few issues there with that. in this case, you know, pretty good coverage all around. Jeff Okudah one-on-one with Michael Gallup. CeeDee Lamb, and the way they like to utilize him, middle of the field slot, could roll down another safety to take this guy away and help out in the slot. We try to play kind of that leverage game. But even on this play, it's still one-on-one with Michael Gallup here for Jeff Okudah. So good coverage on that play. Wasn't much to it. It was just basically a go route. We'll take a look at the sack from this angle real quick. Left tackle gets off the line very late here, and that gives Hutchinson a step. You can see how he's off late. And then Hutchinson finished the play. Back to college, he loved to do this, the swipe and then the rip through. This play, he didn't even set it up with like his inside jab and then back outside. He just went straight at it on that one. And Julian also got a little bit of pressure too. He had a pretty good day. All right, now the Lions played a lot of single high safety in this game. They did a lot of that, but this is a little bit of what we saw. Now in this case, you can see where Deshaun Elliott is. This is a single high safety for the Lions. But we'll just take a look at, this is an example. There's more examples of just how they did things a little bit schematically. Two receivers and kind of like slot alignment stacked up on each other. So Jeff Okudah is going to be outside of that. So this one's a little bit different. But most of the time what the Lions did, in this case, you have one tight end in line, is they would put their edge defenders, having Josh Paschal back and Aiden Hutchinson, they put him in wider alignments like 9, you know, they put him in 9 techniques, and when they did that, they basically forced them to kind of funnel everything inside. Now, later in the game, they got Josh Paschal in a bad spot, one-on-one on a read option with Dak Prescott, and he took off, or I think he handed it off, but just the threat of Dak Prescott being able to run was an issue. They got like 25 yards on the play, and that was when we had 6-man box. So that's going to be dependent by teams that you play. Some teams have a more mobile quarterback than others. This quarterback is more mobile than Tua Tagovailoa. Try to funnel it in with their edge guys, and they were trying to basically force things into the C gap. A lot of the same techniques that they do with their interior guys, but I think they're playing them a little bit different, right? They're not necessarily just attacking upfield. They're getting more so onto the guard. Like last year, in this case, they pulled the offensive lineman, which has given us problems. This time we do it well, right? Alex fills his gap. Malcolm senses that, he feels as well, and then it's about Josh Paschal on this tight end helping kind of string this thing outside, and then Jeff Okudah doing a really good job, disciplined here, makes a good tackle for loss. Jeff Okudah had a fantastic day. He was one of the best players defensively from this game. I mean, now he gave up a couple of receptions, but for the most part, the energy that he played with, him and Hutchinson, they played with some outstanding energy. That's probably my biggest takeaway when it comes to a guy like Hutchinson in this game, is that it wasn't just like the sacks. It wasn't even every play he was doing something in. It was just the energy, and even when he was away from the ball, he's just running over guys, and you're like, dude, this guy is fired up. The first play of the game might be an example of that. First play from scrimmage for Dallas, they go with a run. Watch Hutchinson working on their left tackle here, and he did this a lot. Now, this is a tackle. This is not a tight end, okay, with this stack and shed ability. Just look at this. I mean, this looks, Hutchinson looked in his element. Now, of course, he's being able to stand up and rush, which he loved it back in college because he could see everything when he could stand up. It's not only allowed Hutch to stand up more often just because you have Josh play the strong side at times, but also because of the fact that he's in that wider alignment. He can usually stand up on the outside because now they're playing outside of tight ends, as we'll see a little bit later. See him stack here, getting up on his chest, and then he sheds it off. Doesn't really get involved necessarily in this play, but my goodness, you see that? That's what Hutchinson was doing all day. This is probably one of the best plays from Jeff in this game. Okay, you're going to see they're going to run like a reverse here with his receiver. Here we go. Lions still continue to play a lot of man. They did mix in some more zone this week, I do believe, in terms of like the whole pull the offensive lineman. It's kind of like a false pull here from the offensive lineman because they're going to be setting up this reverse. But Jeff Okudah has this receiver, so he's going to follow that around, and just Okudah's pursuit on this really, to me, just makes the play. Just watch Jeff Okudah on this play track this thing down. Look at this guy. I mean, my goodness. He was having an outstanding day. But also give a little credit to Hutch here. Because of him working upfield, outside of the tight end, inside of the slot, he does string this out just a little bit wider where you help out a guy like Jeff Okudah to get there. Cool play here from Jeff Okudah. This is an example of disguising coverage by the Lions in this game. Now, they've been kind of doing this a lot, not a lot. I'd say going back to New England, they did a lot of this as well. And again, this is one thing I really like about Aaron Glenn is that he doesn't come in and just say, okay, look, this is the coverage shell that we play, and that's all we're going to play. He's clearly trying to adapt based on teams that he plays. In this case, like New England, they played a lot of the kind of Tampa 2 zone, and they played man coverage. Now, there's variations of the man. They do some other things. But the majority of the time, that's the zone that they would drop into. But they would disguise it, and this is an example of them disguising it, right? Pre-snap, you could say that this looks like man coverage, right? Man here, man here, man here. You could say this looks like man. It's nice because it gives you something different. You like to play single high safety, and as you continue to play single high, which they clearly like to do in this game, then a really good disguise out of that is to drop the safety that's in the box into playing half the field. I think that's a really good disguise because it really does disguise the defense, right? Usually see single hires thinking you're narrowing it down to your options, what the coverage could be, and then you completely shift it. So let's take a look at this. See, AJ Parker starts working right before the snap. Deshaun Elliott's going to drop out. Derek Barnes, he does this well, actually. Derek Barnes does this well because he's a good athlete in straight line. He's got good straight line speed. He did this last year, too, against Green Bay, so this gave me some vibes of Green Bay last year. I was just like, ooh, I like this. I'm rubbing my hands together like, okay, I like this. But it does play to a guy like Derek Barnes' strengths really well. You talk about zone coverage. It's not his best side to side. But turning and running with a vertical route from the slot, he can handle that. Partly definitely who you're playing, because if you know this Dallas Cowboys team, you know that's how they like to utilize CeeDee Lamb. Put him in a slot, attack the middle of the field. They love to do that stuff, especially off of their play action like this. So this is an awesome disguise. When he's turning his back to the defense, he may not even be seeing this, and then when he turns around, oh, this is different. So it can throw things off, force you to hesitate. Two good things happen here. Watch Jeff Okudah. Okudah has no one else on his side to worry about in his drop that he needs to get depth with. Just his receiver on his side. So he squeezes up on this route. Absolutely love it. Especially he can see the pressure. Squeezes up on this route. Takes it away, cuts it off. Now, they do complete it, I believe, to his side, yes, right there at the end. But he squeezes up on that when Dan Campbell says challenge. Great example of him challenging on this play. And then it's about Aiden Hutchinson. And Josh Paschal working on the tight end. Paschal with the second effort. He's playing to run first. Second effort, right, because they're tunneling everything inside. Sheds him and then goes. And then Aiden Hutchinson working here on the right tackle with what I love from the other angle to see. Get a quarterback hit by Paschal and limit that gain. But I loved how Okudah challenged on that one. But let's take a look at Hutchinson on this right tackle. Man, this was one thing that if you remember coming into the year, the Lions coaching staff actually talked, I think, exactly about this part of Aiden Hutchinson's game. That he doesn't stop. Like, for example, he goes to a hand swipe or something, and the guy gets some contact and they move with him. His pass rush doesn't stall and like, oh, let me try to counter off it. He can still keep working, keep moving, and still apply that pass rush move that he's utilizing. This is a great example. Watch him here against the right tackle. He's a heck of an athlete that's really strong. Watch him here. Okay, hand swipe, and look at him just. They're grabbing onto his shirt, just keep ripping through, just keep smacking down, keep fighting through that. You can see his head shake, fights through it, and gets by the right tackle, and then Josh Paschal's in there to finish it up. Hutchinson was on one this one. He's been good all year. He has been. He's been smart for us. He's helped us on screens. He's played well against the run. He's been consistent. That's one thing that's been awesome about Hutch. He's been pretty darn consistent. But this game, I thought, man, he was on a little something. You never question the energy about Hutchinson. I mean, that was always one of the biggest traits about him is he has a fantastic motor. That's how he plays. In this case, AJ Parker is going to get beat on this play. I think, and I could be wrong, I think part of it is he kind of lost the leverage on this play, I think. He basically gets caught in the inside leverage here of CeeDee Lamb with a single high safety help. I know a lot of times they like to force it inside, outside leverage. He's playing outside leverage. They like to squeeze and funnel that inside. Lions like to play the single high safety in the box. This time they're going to play man coverage. They're actually going to bring a blitz on this play. But here with the contact, you can see kind of trying to be physical. Now it's opened up, and now he's on the outside, or he's on the inside. Receiver's on the outside. So when he breaks this corner out, it makes it difficult. Or a fade route, I guess. It makes it difficult for Deshaun Elliott to impact this play because now he's got a lot more ground to cover. If AJ's on this side of it, first off, this ball probably isn't thrown because now you kind of bracket it in. But because he loses that, now all of a sudden it's tough for Elliott to get over. He almost does get over and make this play, but it's more difficult. So I think that was kind of what happened there. It was like early off the release. And AJ's trying to get stronger. We know they said he was getting stronger and things like that. This was a really light guy. So I credit him for challenging. I mean, that's awesome. But you can see a little bit of pressure there from Kirby Joseph on the quarterback hit, but that's what I think happens on that play. Elliott almost makes it. I love watching Elliott, man. I'm sad he's out this week. I am. I mean, if Elliott keeps balling, I'm definitely got to get myself an Elliott jersey. It's one of my favorite players, and I hope he gets re-signed because, of course, it's a one-year deal. I don't want to get a jersey if you got a one-year deal. Like, I don't want to. I mean, I got a lot of jerseys of guys that don't play here. Okay, that's not what I'm looking for. Here's an example of our coverage. Some confusion, because I want to show some good. I'm going to show some good, okay? But this is an example of some coverage confusion that the Lions have here. Just communicating. See, they like to do this man coverage, but there's also a lot of moving pieces. They like to pass off a lot of routes. What the Lions say about having a guy like AJ Parker on the field is it gives us a little more FBI. This could be part of that because of how seamlessly they can pass off routes. In this case, they have a little bit of coverage confusion. Here's the motion over right across. It's playing like very, very off coverage on this play, and you can see that they're kind of both covering the same guy. there's clear confusion here, and a lot of teams like to run this route where they kind of sneak one player behind the other. I like the concept of it. I always do. Usually they sit down like a curl, and then they'll sneak a guy behind it. So like this, they sit one down and they sneak one behind it. Lions do the same thing offensively, but where that causes is some confusion. So you got the wheel route. Okay, AJ's going to go out there and get that. So now you got these two guys. Well, Monty is in man coverage on this play, and there's also Alex to take one that crosses the middle. So Alex is going to take that first guy that's in the inside. Well, Amani looks like he's matched up with him, so he kind of sits on that. Now there's no one covering the tight end on this play, and this can happen. It's a cool route concept. A lot of teams do it, but that's one of the examples of kind of a coverage breakdown. So just something to keep an eye on. Show this angle, though, because this is what we talked about. Better example based on their personnel here. So, again, Josh Paschal, wide alignment. He's on the 9, and then so is Aiden Hutchinson in his stand-up role. And they're running the same interior techniques that they usually do, 2-eye and a 3, 2-eye, 3. But you can see Okuda's in the box now. Now, what's different about that, if you guys remember before the bye week, before we started doing this, and we'll see if this continues, but what the Lions would usually do is this defensive end would be playing a tighter alignment. So usually they would actually be inside the tight end, and what would happen is Okuda on this play would be outside of the tight end. Well, where that got them into issues, if they, could pin them down with another receiver, or if they started to flow with that other receiver, or if they could pull an offensive lineman out and kick that block out and kind of get the cornerback squeezed in, that's what would happen. Now the Lions said, let's put the big bodies out there, force them to kind of tunnel everything back inside. But it is nice to see the Lions addressed a clear issue that we noted coming out of the bye week of how they consistently give up big runs, either quarterback runs or that. They addressed it their own way. That's the goal, which especially is going to be easier, I think, against a non-mobile quarterback. But we're going to be forcing a lot of the C gap on this play because they're still playing what looks like kind of a one-gap style defensively. They're forcing the C gap, which is basically where Okuda is. Sometimes it wasn't always perfect. Clearly, didn't always look perfect, but we'll see some bad. Off the line well, you could see he gets up on their left guard on this play and kind of jumps into the A and the B. Malcolm then is cleared to just jump through the A gap. Then that leads Alex Anzalone, kind of squeezes down with Isaiah Buggs getting that double team, and then up to him, come down to Jeff Okuda. So you're counting on Josh Paschal to hold the edge versus the tight end. Now whoever's in here, they got to make the play. They're trying to funnel it to that C gap and say, well, we're going to have to come up and hit. And I guess it's not a bad idea because what's one strength of your team? That wasn't the prettiest tackle. What's one strength? Cornerbacks and safeties hit. Our cornerbacks and safeties are physical. They're willing to hit. So on this play, you can see that. Now let's take a look at a heck of a play by the young safety. I mean, Kirby was balling in this game, if I'm being real. Like, he had a great coverage on CeeDee Lamb on a crossing route. I think we'll show that one. I'm not sure, though, so I just want to point it out. Kirby Joseph been coming along really fast. I mean, you talk about where he is now versus the preseason. It's still not going to be perfect, and it never will with a safety, especially when he's in man. But he's picking it up. He's playing fast, and he's showing all the ball-hawking traits that we saw in college. And it's just like, oh, okay. I mean, he didn't play a lot of safety, but then you just see all the ball-hawking traits that he has, the movement skills that he has. You're like, oh, that's there. And it was great is that it's translating to the NFL level. It's not like you just saw that in college versus different competition. Let's take a look. Another disguise here. Lions are going right back to what we just saw, that Tampa 2 look defensively, this time with Alex and Malcolm. You'll see how it happens. All right, boom, here you go. Alex is going to drop deep middle. So Kirby Joseph is going to fly outside to this deep half. And it's not really a deep half because you kind of have like 3 deep guys with Alex in the middle. But let's take a look versus the trips right. Watch Kirby Joseph right here on this play, okay? Watch him open his hips to the seam route. Now, this makes sense. It's still difficult. It's going to be difficult to throw this pass because it's less ground because Alex is carrying this, but he's trying to attack right at the seam. In a normal cover 2, you can attack that hole. A lot of times you can spread the safeties out. Here, they're going to go right up the seam, right between the safeties. That's what Dak is thinking on this play. And with Kirby's looking, okay, I mean, maybe you have a shot if he can beat Alex. Look at Kirby open, flip, moving really well. Look how he's positioning himself for this. And then he watch the break. Boom. Gets right in front, jumps it. He was right there for a pick. I mean, Kirby Joseph looked really good there. He nearly had an interception. He played that awesome. I'm going to push here for the Lions. You're not always going to get pass rush wins. I love Aleem McNeil, by the way. I've been saying it. Like, Aleem McNeil actually gets pressure, which is not always normal. But, yeah, I mean, Elliott wasn't going to get over there. That's Kirby Joseph. Shout out to Kirby Joseph for getting over there on that play. We'll also see a little bit of kind of the breakdown here, but I think it's Kirby's eyes. I think that's what it is. He's seeing him right about to throw it because this could be a double move, right? And then he's got this area, and that's where it becomes difficult, right? Because you got to kind of decide between the two. They're running like their own dagger version, so I don't think it was even that. I think it was just the eyes on Dak Prescott and him just seeing that, right? Flipping around, seeing Dak Prescott's about to throw, and then adjusting, getting himself right in position. Take a look at this backside angle, though, because watch Aleem McNeil. He doesn't get like a quarterback hit or anything here, but he does get a little bit of push, and he can win one-on-ones, man. This is one of the more underrated sides of Aleem McNeil, is that he can do things like this. It's a crossing route I will show you. This is tough. It's tough for anybody to really cover this if you're, and again, you try to force it, squeeze it to the inside, so you can see how he's doing that on this play. This is difficult for anyone really to cover, especially where he breaks this off for Kirby to be involved in this. Malcolm Rodriguez dives downhill. We'll take a look at Malcolm from this angle. You can see he dives down for the running back. He doesn't even come out, but again, then it just leaves that space. We saw this early in the year versus, I think, Philadelphia that ran this against us, the fake block and go basically route where they set up, it looks like a bubble screen, right? Okay, bubble screen or tunnel screen. But obviously linemen are coming out. But on top of that, these receivers are basically going to like the stock block, fake block, and then they're just going to take off. Lions do this really well. They pass this off effortlessly. They communicate this perfectly. And shout out to Kirby, man, because he's the guy that gets tested on this play. And Kirby's ability to play man again gives him some of that flexibility. We know Elliott can, but Kirby's got very high upside here. But let's take a look at this. AJ's the guy pressing up on the slot, so he's going to pass off and take the screen away. Then these two, Kirby Joseph, young player, right, and Jeff Okudah, who's already seen this year, are going to have to stay on top of the routes and cover these up, and that's exactly what they do. Look at them cover it up. Specifically, look at Kirby Joseph. He gets some safety help. He almost threw a pick there because they covered that up well, but also a guy named Aiden Hutchinson got a little bit of pressure. And this is one of those routes where it feels like, well, either the defense is going to break down and this is going to be wide open, or we might be in trouble and there's nowhere else to go with the football. And in this case, when you get pressure on top of that, you got a big problem. So Hutchinson this time is on the tight end side. Okay, let's take a look at Hutchinson here, one-on-one with the tight end. Gets into his body, and it's the spin. Of course, you're playing the run first, and then it's that spin counter. Boom, that thing is nasty. That thing is nasty. It's the spin counter. That thing is pretty, man. Let's take a look. So there's the play action. Right? And then he's like, oh, okay, he doesn't have it. I'm going to go by. Nope, stop. Ooh, stop. Quarterback hit. Didn't really affect the pass, but, I mean, there was nowhere else to go with the ball. This time they go 12 personnel. Now they try to get outside the tackles again. And this one's a little bit different because it's not just one tight end. Now they got two tight ends on this side of the field. And just shout out to Okudah being disciplined, getting out here. Julian dives in a little bit. They both kind of do a little bit, but Okudah gets out here. And then, yeah, he just makes the play, gets right around the tackle. But then, of course, Julian kind of getting back into the play doesn't allow them to really cut up field. But they do this pretty well. This is giving us problems. But take a look at this. Take a look at Okudah on this play, man. He was eating. I love the little celebration after this. Okay, there's the pull, the two pull outside. Look at Okudah get out there, make the play. Look at him. He's fired up. I love it. Now, the next play, he gave up a slant. I was like, oh, he's on fire. Next play, he gave up a slant. I was like, okay. So, you know, that happens. And that does happen against CeeDee Lamb. He gave up a man coverage 10-yard slant. That happens. But he was playing the run extremely well in this game. It could be an issue. It definitely could be. Just if you're playing this stylistically. Because you kind of have to put the safety in a box, it almost feels like. Because they get a play like this, where it almost looks like the Lions are trying to do something different. The linebackers shift here before the plays even snap. Now, Lions, they shift over. They shift over gaps. Deshaun Elliott shoots down as if he's filling the C. Well, I think what's the issue about that is obviously he's coming down from a place upfield. He's got to come down and make that tackle. That's where it goes. They're funneling everything into it with these edge defenders, and you could see that's what leads to this big play because he jumps over Deshaun Elliott and it picks up a huge gain. It wouldn't have been nearly as big, of course, if he comes down and makes that tackle. But let's take a look because, again, the Lions, where they shift to is usually how they play most snaps, right? A gap, and then they'll go B gap here with Alex. That's usually how they do it based on how their D-line's playing. So here, they shift, so now they're all filling these gains. Boom, boom. They're all filling lanes. You can see it, B gap, A gap, okay. A gap, B gap. You can see how they're filling that pre-snap, and then Elliott's got to come down and fill here. But on this play, as they do that, okay, and they kind of combo block here on the inside, so both of them get a really good block on the defensive tackles. Our linebackers can shoot downhill, but it's that C gap that he just jumps right through basically immediately on this play, and that's because Elliott's coming down from a high safety position, trying to come down and make this play, and then he just gets jumped over. One thing I loved about Deshaun, though, in this game, and I like about Deshaun, is that he adapts, man. He adjusts. He gets beat a certain way. He's going to adapt to that and be like, okay, this is not cool. This is not going to happen anymore. I'm going to adapt to that. So here's an example. This is their 28-yard run. This was that drive that just had massive runs that they moved it down the field on us. They scored on this drive, right? Second half, yeah. They scored on this drive. This was that massive chunk, basically, drive that they had. You saw the first one happen, almost a 20-yard gain on that play. Now, this is interesting. This is what Dallas started doing. So they kind of are like, all right, you're going to do this, we're going to do this. So they know we're putting our safety in the C gap. Well, what they're going to do now is they're going to take the receiver, in this case 85, they're going to bring him in and they're going to have him block. We do this with St. Brown. We've done it with Tom Kennedy, I think. Khalif has done it. They have them block. So they get an extra blocker in there. Now it puts a lot of stress on, you're going to have to beat that receiver. You're going to have to beat that receiver because of how we're playing with our rest of our guys. Also part of this is Aleem is it seems like Aleem's late off the line. You can see that. Usually he's very quick off the line for his size. This time it looks like he's a little bit late off the line. trying to get some contact here. That way Malcolm can fill, Alex can fill, Hutch can set the edge. You can see how this is going to play out. He's a little bit late, kind of locks up Malcolm a little bit. Now there's this lane, and you can see Deshaun is getting blocked up just enough by the receiver on this play, and it just fills this little hole that he can kind of squirt through, but still missed tackles, like right there. Made the game way bigger than it had to be, so 10, maybe 12 yards turns into about 30 yards. Semi-big run turning into massive run. That's big tackles. Last week, or New England, we had a screen, missed a tackle, turned into like a 20-yard gain. It was versus like 3 versus 20. It's a giant difference just by missing a tackle. We don't miss a lot of tackles consistently, but when you have a run that could be massive, can't miss a tackle there. And basically the same look here. This one goes for 6 yards. It's pretty much the same thing. You see how the backers are lined up, right? They're not going to shift on this play because they're already shifted. So, yeah, you can already see how they're lined up. Elliott comes down, same thing. They use their receiver in the inside to pick up that block. And, you're probably going to have to get off of that block. I mean, you're just going to have to because they're cutting back inside. So we'll take a look at how he adapts to that. Let's take a look at Deshaun Elliott on this play. He makes the tackle, negative 1 yard run. Let's take a look at it, okay? Same alignments defensively. It's the exact same look defensively here. Deshaun Elliott's down to the box. Okuda's in a little bit tighter, I would say. But watch how Deshaun Elliott plays the receiver here, okay? This is what I like about him. Watch this. Boom! He goes out and he gets him. That's the difference. He goes out and gets the receiver. He attacks this receiver. Okuda can fill in a little bit more here, but he attacks him. He's the guy that's resetting the line. He's the guy that's in the backfield. And then, of course, on this side, Bugs doing a good job off the line. McNeil goes right to the guard. Backside his own run here. I'm going to put my hands in the chest of this offensive tackle. Now, the guard, a little bit late here. You can see how he kind of reacts late to this. He's got to block up Malcolm Rodriguez. Malcolm has to get through this gap. And he does. He fires through the gap. So that forces the cutback. Also, Hutch is containing the edge. I mean, he's just right by Steele. But then it's Elliott who attacks this receiver and shuts it down. What an adjustment by Deshaun Elliott. Coming back with some aggression. Like this dude ain't going to be blocking me up. This ain't going to happen all day. We've said it before, but we get caught up in sacks. But it's also important to understand that, a lot of sacks, though, they have to come via coverage in a way. Now, coverage sacks are a little bit different than just via coverage. What I'm saying is that the first read, if they have the first read wide open, it's very difficult to get a sack. You're basically having to have a complete no block to get a sack on someone that's first read is open. That's going to be a very big problem. We saw it yesterday. Lions play action, Jonah Jackson. He blows the block, but the ball is out in the first read, so there's no chance for the defense. In this case, the first read is not there for Dak. Force them to hold it just enough for Aiden Hutchinson to go to work on the right tackle. Let's take a look. A.J. Parker is who I circle on this one in the slot. Why? A.J. Parker did pretty well here, it looks like. Communicating. This is beautiful. Lions are in man coverage. Boom, boom, boom. Man coverage on this play. Watch how seamlessly they communicate passing this route off. You got man coverage over here. This is a little bit messed up. Okay, Okuda's taking the tight end. Malcolm's trying to work around him. That wasn't beautiful. But the other side is where you got to focus. Let's take a look at how well they pass this off. And Dak forced him to hold it just long enough. He's looking at it. He's got to be thinking, oh, this is man coverage. Okay, so let's take a look. All right, out route, and we're going to have guys sit down in the curl route. But that could be like a pick play, right? Where it's like, oh, that's wide open. They're in man coverage, easy pick play. Watch the Lions communicate this. And this is almost, it feels like a little bit of a difference that we had last year too when we were covering well, is that you're going to play a lot of man, but for the Lions, we can't just be in man and just be like, okay. Like, it's different when you're by yourself. You're one-on-one on an island. He runs the slant. You got to be able to cover him. But when you have things like this, when they go trips right and they're playing man coverage defensively, you can't just have a team run a man beater and be like, well, we don't got it because, that's going to be an issue because we play man like half of the time. That's going to be a very big problem. But in this play, the Lions pass it off with Kirby, again, coming down, playing man here. Look at this communication. Boom. Effortless. Passes it right off to Kirby Joseph. Where do you think Dak's looking? Right here. He's looking right where A.J. Parker is. That's supposed to be open. Nope, it's not because A.J. Parker's right there looking at it. A.J. Parker's there. Dak's like, oh, crap. And he just hesitates. Now he's like, well, where do I go? Probably going to look back for his running back, maybe the tight end. It doesn't matter. Hutchinson's already on him. So it just took the one first read away. This becomes a sack versus probably a 20-plus yard gain, maybe a touchdown. If that's blown, if they're like, wait, where do I go? Like a red zone sometimes, which is all about it. That's where you spotlight it because in the red zone, you're always playing man. There's not enough ground to cover anything over top. You're always playing man. So in the red zone, you're playing man coverage. If you don't communicate well, someone's going to be wide open. That's just how it works. Everything's like a rub route, pick play, crossers, drags. In this case, they cover it up really well. They try to look like a man beater, and our guys were like, nah, we're going to cover that up. And again, talk about FBI and Kirby Joseph. I mean, he didn't hesitate either. He did his job. Watch Hutchinson on this play. This is one of the nastiest spins you'll see. Look at him set him up. Bop! Oh my gosh. That is disgusting. Look, I knew he could spin, right? He had this spin move in college, but not like this. I don't remember seeing this very often. NFL's different. You got to have some diversity. We know that. But look at how he attacks him, man. This is beautiful. Upfield, and then he kind of works himself like, oh, I'm going to go around the edge here, right? He gets upfield towards the tackle, then works around like I'm going around the corner, and then bop, slams on the brakes as soon as he shoots his hands. No, I'm not. That is disgusting. That is disgusting. And Aleem was back there too. Disgusting. Very similar look to one that we just took a look at. Very similar to that same exact play. Again, Elliott comes down with the safety. He attacks him. Watch him attack the safety. Boom. I'm not standing back here and just watching. I'm attacking. So then Okuda's like, okay, I'll attack as well. I like how Alex always feels like he has like a weird little pursuit to the play. Like he has pretty good awareness to seemingly always kind of know where the ball is, to just be like the last line of defense. You ever notice that when like a big play breaks? Could have been on him. But and sometimes it's not. But like a big play breaks down and then like, oh, the guy that ran him down was Alex. He seems to kind of know where the ball is all the time. And like this, like he just kind of flows over there. But that was a 2-yard gain. Love Okuda tackling like that. Okuda's tackling like a linebacker. It's definitely one of the best plays defensively. Probably the best. I would argue this might have been the best play of the day, aside from the fumble. Just because of what Alex did. We just gave Alex some love. Let's take a look. This is an elite level play. Like this is a game changing, could be type of play that Alex makes here. Look at this. And I thought originally it was more to Elliott. Elliott helped out. He got off his block, helped out, kind of just shut it down, like cut the line off. But Alex getting out here as fast as he did was what it was, right? The defensive line shifts inside. Okay, you can see how that communicated well there. And then it's about Alex, who's on the outside now. And just look at him get out here on the pitch, doesn't jump inside, has eyes on it, gets out on the pitch and runs this down. That is an elite level play from Alex Anzalone, and I love to see him do that. Also, Hutchinson here. You can see he helps a little bit here, but it's really about Alex. Look at him run this down. I love how Elliott doesn't stop to battle here. He just keeps battling with him. Like, now I'm getting off this block, and he's just in the way of any reach. So, fantastic. One of the best plays of the day. Because Jeff had a good day, and why not show it off a little bit? Here he is. Watch Jeff hit, man. He's hitting like a linebacker. Look at him. Bam. I love it. I love it. Kirby Joseph love. Again, Kirby's been playing his butt off, I think. He's improving big time. Here he is on a slot receiver, okay, the inside slot. Watch him cover this crossing route here on CeeDee Lamb. Look at him. Look at him play this. He's got his eyes on the quarterback initially, and then he turns and runs, cuts this route off. The ball is actually thrown there, but there's no opportunity for this to be caught. Look at him. Look at him get in front of this route. Come on, man. Come on, man. That's outstanding from Kirby Joseph. That is outstanding. Now, there was a little bit of pressure that forced this ball out of the hands of Dak Prescott. Let's take a look at who causes that pressure. Let's take a look. Oh, Aleem McNeil. Yeah. Aleem McNeil. Okay, he's you know, I'm just saying. This one wasn't the most well done just across the board. It started with probably the communication here, because if Jeff kicks out and takes CeeDee Lamb, they could probably pass this off a lot better. That doesn't happen. So now everybody else has to adapt to it. And on this play, you can see A.J. Parker's just assuming the linebacker's going to be there. He's trying to pass him off, and he's like, oh, there's literally no one there. He keeps pointing like there's somebody there. There's nobody there. He doesn't realize that. They pick up 11 on the play. So it's just kind of a domino. It always is. 3 guys attacking one side of the field. Here you go. They have the ball. This is coming off the fumble, and I thought I would just show it because this was almost a game-changing play and not even realize it. So let's take a look. First off, I wanted to showcase that. Look at Hutchinson just smacked this tight end. He flipped him. He turned the guy around. He just flipped the guy backwards. I just thought I'd point that out real quick. I'll show this angle. He literally flips this tight end around. It's like, okay, hey, look, maybe I'm getting the football. I don't know. But this is where you see issues. They come out with the tempo on this play, and they just barely sneak by the ball on Alex here. So tight end, and running back. That's where the issue is. So Okudah takes the tight end. Now Elliott, running back, but he and the tight end, now there's kind of that confusion there between him and Deshaun Elliott. Alex Anzalone's trying to run out there to get to the widest because he can obviously see that Elliott's probably beat towards the outside here. So Alex tries to get out there and kind of save the day, and he throws it. Alex nearly picked this off. They picked up like 20 yards on this play, but I just thought I'd show it because I didn't realize how close he was to actually picking this off. I'm sorry, it's glitching. Maybe you won't be able to see it, but I like Hutchinson's reaction to it, like, oh, he had it, and then he didn't have it. Can we see it? Oh, you can't see it. It's okay. He almost picked it off, and then Hutchinson was... All right. Yeah, defense definitely was better. It has been better for the last 2 weeks. I do think still, though, it is team dependent, and I'm interested to see this week specifically. I mean, you're talking about Tyreek Hill. So teams that have had two really good receivers. How do the Lions adapt to that? In this case, you're playing one of the best receivers. How do the Lions take that away? They love to play their man. The communication's fantastic. Okudah played pretty good in this game. Amani still had some issues in man coverage. There was a couple of times where it was like, yeah, he's just beat there. Okudah got beat a couple times. It happens. You get beat a couple times, right? That is what it is football. But it is definitely something to keep an eye on when you have a guy like Tyreek. How much man did they go to? They're probably going to play a lot more two-shell, which is going to end up stressing two-shell. It's going to end up stressing that front six, basically, if they spread you out. And a perfect example of that, I had an example. Did I save it? I guess I didn't write down the play for some reason. But basically, they came out there, spread the receivers out. They had 5 offensive linemen running back. They had no tight end. So Lions had six guys in the box on that play. And it was the read option that they had, which caused an issue with Josh Pascal. He goes outside. Basically, the running back cuts back, and there's a huge run lane for like 20 yards. So I'm very curious to see how the Lions approach that. But I do want to show one more play quickly in here. One was just messed up from the jump. All right, you could see it pre-snap again. I was like, oh, someone's got to drop. This is why I was saying someone has to drop, because look at this. What they end up doing is they drop Julian and Hutch in the coverage. I don't know if I love it. I mean, it's easy to say that in hindsight, though, so I get it. It's easy to say that in hindsight, like, oh, of course he didn't love it. It looks like almost in a way like a cover 4 drop, a little bit, right? Because you're kind of just doing your cover 4 with A.J. Parker dropping, and you're blitzing on the play, but you're off sides. It kind of throws off the blitz. There's not really any pressure. And then on top of that, you see these 2 guys drop into coverage, and that immediate pressure isn't there to make him like, I don't want to throw that. We've seen the Lions do this. The Lions did this at the Family Fest. I remember them running this coverage. I think they got beat on it, actually, at the Family Fest. But you can see how that was kind of a disaster. This is what happened on one of those red zone touchdowns. This was with 2 minutes to play. This basically kind of sealed the deal, because we got it back, and it was actually, I don't know. This may have put us down like 18, so I don't even think I was paying attention when this happened, to be honest. I was frustrated. You can see this is why, again, communication gets amplified in this. It always does. And you can see here with Amani, communication got amplified. You can see how that went horribly wrong. Drags, crossers, a lot going on here that they put us in. First off, Malcolm got hurt on this play. I didn't even realize that. He basically ran into another defender running another crossing route here. You'll see that right there. You're like, why is he wide open? Well, that looks very painful. But then at the same time, Amani coming over here with Kirby Joseph. They communicate it. Kirby seems to know who he's got, but I don't know if Amani knows necessarily who he has on this play. I'm not sure he knows, and then he finds out late, and he's like, oh, snap, I got 89, and he kind of just works around him, and he's wide open. So that's what happened on that one. It's always amplified in the red zone. You got to be on it in the red zone, because it's very difficult when teams throw the football. It's very difficult, especially from those formations. But anyways, yeah, so I'm excited to see what this defense does against this offensive personnel in Miami. Still, you want to see some of the runs, some of the chunks we give up. I give them a little bit of pause on some of these, because it's like, okay, I understand. They're figuring out something. They're doing a little bit differently. How do they continue that going forward? But I am very excited about this defensive line. Hutchinson and Josh Pascal are really tough. Like, those two are tough together, and I'm excited about the future of that. Obviously, Liam can get some push. It's got to be great. I'm just very excited about this defensive line's future and where Pascal takes it from here. He's going to be limited in like zone read elements, but I don't think we'll see a ton of that with Tua. They don't really do that, I don't think. I haven't gotten into a lot of their stuff yet, so we'll talk about that later. But again, I'm really interested to see how they handle that. But those 2 defensive ends I'm very excited about. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you, Prop, for watching, and I'm out.